Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about Sony because PlayStation just bought Elden Ring. At least that's the way a lot of people are going to be looking at this deal. But Sony just acquired Kadokawa, which is a major distributor of anime and the owner of FromSoftware. But people are extremely angry. In fact, I'd say 80% of the internet is currently waking up like I am and kind of confused or in some cases revolted by the news. Now, let's talk about this because the deal did not go down quite the way we originally imagined. When Sony first published their intent to acquire, they said officially about 2 weeks ago, they were like, yes, we're trying to buy them. Yes, we have intent. Yes, we've got cash on hand. But instead of buying them, they just control them, which means that maybe Elden Ring isn't going to be an exclusive, but let's talk about it because this entire thing, nobody really seems happy about it. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I haven't even had my morning coffee yet or breakfast or anything, so if I sound a bit drowsy, I wanted to talk about this because I'm extremely excited, but I'm still a bit waking up. Kadokawa and Sony agree to form a strategic business alliance. Sony has acquired 12 million shares of Kadokawa, which is approximately 50 billion yen. Now, if you translate this into Amero bucks, if you actually put this into USD, it's roughly $330 million, which I have to say, it's a bit odd to consider the idea of buying one of the biggest chunks of anime, one of the biggest publishers, and Elden Ring for $330 million? I mean, alone, just Elden Ring. Obviously not even talking about Sekiro and Bloodborne and Dark Souls and everything else. Freaking Armored Core. Them buying it seems so cheap. Like, just Elden Ring, I think, is now confirmed to have sold 28 million copies. So buying a majority stake for $330 million is kind of bonkers. Sony will become Kadokawa's largest shareholder, holding approximately 10% of its shares, including the shares that Sony previously acquired back in February of 2021. Now, they published this big legal document about why they're happy, why this is good, but the instant reaction most people have is honestly much more negative. I actually found these two posts over on Blue Sky, and I actually think they're pretty good. I saved these a while ago when the talks were first happening, which is why you can see they were published at the beginning of November. Sony handling of Crunchyroll, Funimation, Right Stuff post-acquisition inspires negative confidence in how monumentally they can and will further mess up anime, manga, film, book publishing if they're able to acquire Kadokawa. So, one of the major things about Kadokawa is that, yeah, they have their fingers in a lot of pie. They're a massive company. We actually talked about this a couple years ago on the channel when Sony first acquired 10% of the company. And they are massive. I mean, it's difficult to understate how much of the entire gaming industry they currently own. This means that Sony is now going to have an actual monopoly. They are actually going to control pretty much every anime, every series, every show that you love is going to be owned completely by PlayStation, which is a bit of an odd thing. Consolidation around the anime industry is upsetting but not new, since corpos have been acquiring studios left and right. But the sentence, Sony in talks to acquire Kadokawa, is such a horrifying thing, I physically recoiled. No, thank you. Look, this is probably not going to be the worst thing ever, but it is interesting that pretty much all anime fans are not thrilled about it. Just in general, obviously, I majority talk about video games here. I'm a big video game guy. This is a big video game channel, but I understand the fact that the connection, the overlap of anime fans and video game fans, it's practically a circle, right? The idea of PlayStation trying to take this over to make an essentially free profit, they're just going to control it and lump it in together with all their other current streaming platforms. It seems like such a strange move to further monetize Sony, but here we go. Let me talk about this. 10% shareholder in Kadokawa, a massive multimedia company. Twitter, Sony owns Elden Ring. This is one of the main guys behind Pal World, so it's funny that he's joking about the fact that people are going to kind of not understand this deal. So many people are upset about the anime and manga part of this, but we have zero idea. Scream Monopoly all you want, but in Japan, where anime matters the most, nothing changes. In around the world, they already own the biggest anime platform, nothing changes. I think this is probably the more realistic look at it. I mean, I could be wrong, feel free to clip this, but it does seem like PlayStation already owns almost a monopoly, so this is basically them buying the last piece of the pie. But in pretty much any industry, once one person is able to greenlight the projects they want, kill the projects they don't want, take stuff, make stuff exclusive, it's usually not good. Xbot and PC users? What is PCSS pissers? PCers? I have no idea what this even means. Yeah, so I do think there is a chance that we still see this become exclusive eventually. I do think there is still a chance that Dark Souls, that Elden Ring 2, 3, whatever, I do think there is a chance those become exclusive to PlayStation. Now here's something, at least it wasn't a full acquisition, but it's only a matter of time until Sony buys out the remaining shares of Kadokawa. So we actually know that isn't the case. So they put this into this is a legal document, keep that in mind. It sounds like they're saying they're not going to buy anything else, right? Let me actually double check this. Following Sony's initial proposal to buy it out in October, our intent to acquire, Sony has reached an agreement in this business alliance. Sony does not plan to acquire additional Kadokawa shares after the execution of the acquisition. So doesn't that say that they're saying that they're not going to buy any more shares? Maybe that's saying that we're going to buy it all eventually. I think it's pretty clear. I think Sony is just trying to make it so they can own it enough to profit off it without actually having to run it. Now, a lot of people immediately are making memes. I wanted to save a couple, but a lot of people are basically saying, okay, good thing it's not a buyout. There is still a chance, though, that we're going to get a Bloodborne remaster. There is a good chance that now that Sony owns even 10% of the company, this is like owning the ability to vote, but you get 3 votes when everybody else gets 1 vote. Technically, they don't own the company, but they can control it. They can dictate the board. They can command projects. They can set timelines and stuff. I think there is a good chance that they start to be more hands-on with FromSoftware. Now, as a person that is completely obsessed with FromSoftware, that loves Dark Souls, that put hundreds of hours of Elden Ring, just like everybody else, I am extremely curious to see the future of FromSoftware, what projects do or don't happen, if they're exclusive, if they're still able to be on other platforms. But this is the thing. I think I'm fascinated about the fact that everybody now is so anti-acquisition. It does seem like ever since the Bethesda deal happened, the Activision Blizzard deal happened, the Bungie deal happened, big buyouts by both Microsoft and Sony have really soured even gamers. I think in the console war talk, it was fun to talk about someone's going to buy Square Enix, somebody's going to buy Sega, but now that we've seen these acquisitions actually happen, almost entirely, it ends up messing up the studios. It leads to mass layoffs. It leads to really, really bad stuff. I think it's interesting now that whenever people hear about acquisitions, it's a resounding groan. Hoping this isn't just a stay of execution with the way that Sony runs their stuff. From in a decade, see Concord and Naughty Dog. I mean, obviously this person's being hyperbolic. You can see they're getting ratioed. From an easier to digest term, Sony just became Kadokawa's biggest shareholder, which officially makes them the de facto owner of the company, short of managing the actual business operations. Oh man, all the comments, the more you scroll, the more people just get pissed. Okay. Well, what do you guys think about this? I think it's odd that it's not a full-blown acquisition, but I'm definitely happy that it's not a full-blown acquisition. I think they're going to stay true to the word and just own 10%. That way they can reap the rewards, they can command the projects, but without the massive blowback when things go bad. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Oh man, I am so tired.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.